Odessa just touched on, just sort of captured where I was headed next, Maria. We asked our audience to submit questions, and many of them were a variation of this next one, which is, why wouldn't Navalny have been more effective as an opposition figure outside of Russia rather than in prison? Surely he knew what would happen when he returned after the attempted assassination. And especially, obviously, he was imprisoned before the invasion of Ukraine. Now the repression inside Russia is even greater. Could he have been more valuable outside the country, mobilizing opposition to the war, mobilizing opposition to Vladimir Putin?
This is completely and entirely hypothetical situation which could have never happened. So we can spend many hours now trying to, draw different scenarios, discuss them, and discuss the different ifs and buts and what ifs, etc. There was never a choice. There was never really any sort of debate about whether Navalny will go back or won't go back. As soon as he was able to formulate a sentence to say sentence out loud after recovering from coma, he said that he will be going home. And it was completely unthinkable and completely unimaginable to back in the day to see Navalny staying abroad permanently and doing his work from there. It's not how we operated. That's not how what the what the philosophy of our organization was, and obviously that was completely. It wouldn't be Navalny if he did that. So he practices what he preaches, and if he says things about courage, about bravery, about standing up to his words, he's going to do that. So the question of him staying in Europe was never there. And maybe a small clarification, just to make the situation a little bit more clear. It wasn't as obvious that he would be imprisoned indefinitely, like back then. And it's very easy now to say it, in hindsight, that yes, of course he would be. But again, this was this was pre-war Russia. This was there were different options, scenarios, and possibilities of what can happen to him upon return. And of course, we had hope that Vladimir Putin wouldn't dare to embarrass himself yet another time and arrest and imprison Navalny upon his arrival. There were very many options. We prepared for every scenario, including the one that has happened. We are running our organization without Navalny. We're running it successfully. We have moved our operation from Russia soon after Navalny was imprisoned, because the Anti-Corruption Foundation was designated the status of a terrorist organization. So we had to do that. So I think that there is not much point in exploring those hypothetical scenarios of what if Navalny was now free in Europe, what if there was a war and there wasn't a war. It is what it is. He is currently in a Russian prison, and all we need to focus on is how to get him out as quickly as possible.